Welcome everybody to the Short Sports Show. I am your host Daniel Short. Today is Monday, January 5th, 2015. What a weekend it was for the NFL wild card playoffs. We had a couple blowout games, and then we had some actual, comeback games with the Dallas Cowboys. They came back and won it down 20-0 and came back to win 24-20 over the Detroit Lions. We'll talk about that. Also, some NFL news around head coaches and the former Bills head coach Doug Marrone. We're going to talk about him. I just learned something today, and it just shocks me. It really does, and I'm pretty sure it'll shock you as well. Also, the city in Ohio is changing its name for the national championship game. We'll talk about that as well. First, we'll talk about some college football news. Not a whole lot going on, just a couple things. One that we've touched on last week, or actually it was on Friday. Georgia Athletic Director Greg McGarity told supporters in an email Friday that the Bulldogs are working on a contract extension for longtime coach Mark Rich. Rich said that said after the Bulldogs' 37-14 victory over to Louisville in the Belk Bowl on Tuesday night that he planned to return to the sideline in 2015, which would be his 15th season at Georgia, which that's what we talked about. And the athletic director, Greg McGarity, said, quote, "I look forward to working alongside Mark in the future and helping him move our program forward in all areas. We will continue to work on contract extension with Mark over the coming days. I know Mark is focused on completing his coaching staff and recruiting. Coach Rich has 3 years left on his contract, which will pay him $3.2 million annually and runs through the 2017 season. The Bulldogs did go 10-3 this past season, and I believe it's their 9th or 12th time having 10 wins in a year. So really good for him. And now they're working on a contract extension. So there were rumors about Coach Wright. I keep saying Coach Wright, Coach Rich retiring, and things like that, moving away from the program afterwards. Doesn't look like that now. Looks like he's still obviously already still has 3 years on his contract, but they want to extend it just to make sure, hey, you stay here and you're happy. We'll give you a little bit more money. That way you stay a Bulldog until you are ready to retire and not leave us. So that's, I guess, good for the Bulldogs. Here is one of the most interesting stories, excuse me, that came out. And as we all know, Oregon will play Ohio State in a national championship game, which, by the way, we talked about. Actually, it was Thursday when we had our show because that's when the championship game. Wow, Ohio State. Now, I'm just saying, I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm not going to go on a whole story or anything, but had TCU made the playoffs and they were going to play Alabama because they would have got dropped to 4th, I'm just saying, if a third-string quarterback and Cordell Jones can throw those type of bombs to no-name wide receivers, I'm just saying that the TCU Trevon Boykin, the Josh Doxson, to Kobe Listenbeat, Deontay Gray, the list goes on and on. This would have been one of the biggest blowouts alongside with Oregon's blowout against Florida State. This would have been huge. It would have been a TCU-Oregon game. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there, but it sucks. TCU proved that it should have been, and then Ohio State kind of said, hey, we're pretty good too. But in all, Florida State shouldn't have been in. They should have lost. I wish they would have lost a long time ago. We would have never had this discussion. TCU would have been in. But anyways, let's just move on. Anyways, there is a city in Ohio called Oregon. Oregon, Ohio. That is what it's called. A suburb of Toledo in northwest Ohio. It will make a temporary name switch in support of Ohio State. City Administrator Michael Beasley told the Toledo Free Press. Two city natives, Matt Squibb and Mark Rabbit, some weird names here, but hey, that's who they are, put together a change.org petition calling for Oregon to change its name to Oregon's Clay High School to change its school colors from green and gold, the same as the Ducks, which it's really green and yellow, but whatever, for that day, according to the Free Press. This is what the petition said, quote, "I grew up in Oregon, Ohio. I love the city, but for a day of the big game, I'm asking the city council to make a proclamation to change the name of the city for one day. Call it Buckeye Town, Ohio City, Brutusville, whatever. You get the point. Let's not leave anything to chance here. Change the name and support the Buckeyes. The temporary name has yet to be determined. Beasley told the Free Press. But he said he and Mayor Michaels, well, stay with me here, Safarian, plan to issue a proclamation Monday announcing the change on January 12th, saying we've heard about the petition, we've gotten calls, we're going to do something with it, Beasley told the newspaper. So that's huge. They're going to change the name of Oregon, Ohio, I'm guessing just for that day, and changing it to something else. Which, in a ways, it would seem crazy, but being from Texas and seeing what they do for just Texas high school football, this is nothing. This is nothing. Changing your city name to that, no, that's nothing. But I think that's kind of cool. I think that is. So Oregon, the state of Oregon, if you have anything that has Ohio or anything that has to do with that university, or even just similar, just comes close enough to it, go ahead and change it as well. If you have anything that's red and silver, a high school, anything, change it. Just change it just for the heck of it. Just get right back at them. It's not like they're taking a shot at you, but just go with it. Do something about it. I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of high schools in Oregon that have red and silver, whatever colors. Just change it. Make it green and yellow for yourself. I say do it. I would do it. But that is pretty cool for Oregon to do that, or for Ohio to do that, the city of Oregon to change its name because of the game. But honestly, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think Oregon's pretty much got this wrapped up. But we will talk about that. And just for all you guys know, the game is obviously January 12th, which is next Monday. So we will talk about that game all day, all day, whatever, all day long. Next Monday. So be prepared for that. I'm getting everything. I've already started part of it last night, getting all the stats together and everything to look at, the common opponents, especially in Michigan State. Not too much on history because obviously it doesn't matter what happened in the past. It's all about, now, and everything they've done just this season and what they are doing. So all of that all together in one big show next Monday. Be prepared and be ready for that next Monday. Moving on, Alabama Deputy Athletic Director Shane Lyons has accepted an offer to become West Virginia's new athletic director, a source said Sunday. Lyons will be announced today as the school's replacement for former athletic director Oliver Luck, who left West Virginia on December 13th to become executive vice president of regulatory affairs with the NCAA. Lyons has been at Alabama since 2011, and before that, he was an Athletic Coast Conference Associated Commissioner from 2001 to 2011. But for any West Virginia fans out there, don't worry. This guy is a native. He's from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and he even graduated from West Virginia in 1987 with a bachelor's degree in sports management, and also earned a master's degree in sports management from West Virginia in 1988. So no worries, guys. He knows what West Virginia is all about, because when you say you hired somebody that's an Alabama deputy athletic director, I feel like that's basically a pencil sharpener guy and that type of thing. I would have been, especially taking the place of Oliver Luck's spot. You're looking down and like, out of all people, who, what? What is this? I'm thinking of like a person that's just at the park or something. That's just hey, kids, get off the swing or something. That's who I was thinking. I was like, okay, am I reading this right? Maybe it's just a scam thing. No, it's an actual position, and he does have credentials. So no worries, West Virginia fans. You got a solid guy there and a hometown guy. Last thing, former Florida Gators quarterback Jeff Driscoll will play his final season for the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. He threw for 1,140 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 10 picks this season. He battled through some injuries, though, in his career at Florida. He will be joining a Louisiana Tech team coached by Skip Holtz. So, that passing offense, maybe to help him out a little bit. It finished 9-5 this past season. The Bulldogs lost the Conference USA Championship game to Marshall, but defeated Illinois 35-18 in the heart of Dallas Bowl. So got a solid squad there. I don't really know who's returning, who are the seniors, and who they're bringing back or whatnot. But it's just kind of weird. I would think Driscoll would probably maybe just, not in a negative way, but just, done with football type of thing. Find whatever career he's thinking about other than football. Because really, not to be mean, but he's not going to make the NFL. He definitely won't get drafted. I couldn't even see anybody taking a chance on him, even as an undrafted free agent. I feel like that's just a waste of a roster spot because he's seen what he's done in a pro-style offense. And he's had solid running backs. He's had his share of wide receivers. He's had pretty solid tight ends. Offensive line, yes, has been the issue. But you're not always going to get the perfect offensive line in the NFL. You're not always going to have the best wide receivers. And you're not always going to have solid running backs. If you can't compete at Florida, going to Louisiana Tech, yeah, you might throw for 2,000, 3,000 yards if you're lucky, because with your ratio, your entire career has been pretty bad for touchdown to interceptions. It really has. So, you think you just say, hey, I'm done. I got my degree, and let's step right into the career field. I don't know. I don't really know what he's looking at. I just can't see him going any farther. I think every school or every team, NFL team, is going to look at what he did, big time competition. He took a step down to go to Louisiana Tech and play Conference USA teams. And yeah, he might have thrown for some stats. And for all we know, especially, it's going to make him look even worse if he goes to Louisiana Tech and ends up throwing about the same amount and gets benched midway through the season. So overall, I think he should just kind of just pull the David Ash, even though David Ash had injuries at Texas, and just go and maybe become a coach, that type of thing. I'm sure there's an opening somewhere. So about that. But anyways, again, January 12th, College Football Playoff Championship, Arlington, Texas. I believe it's 7:30 Central Standard Time on ESPN. It is I thought it was going to be Alabama. I still have it written down as Alabama on here. I got to change that. It is Ohio State taking on Oregon. Marcus Mariota's last game at Oregon. We'll see about the quarterback tandem. I really can't, I'll talk about it more next week. But for Ohio State quarterbacks, they're even getting another quarterback in Torrance Gibson, who I was watching in the U.S. Army All-American game on Saturday. And I'm seeing these quarterback recruits still wanting to go to Ohio State. And I'm thinking, right now we got to figure out what Braxton Miller's going to do. Again, there's mixed reports that he's going to stay or he's going to transfer to Duke, Florida State, Oregon, Ole Miss, whatever it is. You got to figure out what he's going to do. Then you also have JT Barrett, who was all Big Ten Freshman Player of the Year. He's just a freshman. So you're going to have to wait until basically your senior year or your redshirt junior year to even start or even have a chance at starting. Unless, again, he goes down with the injury. And then you also have Cordero Jones. I mean, what are you going to do here? I believe he's a freshman or sophomore as well. And you got to think, am I ever going to get playing time? Yeah, you got to believe in yourself that you can go out there and compete and win. But you got to think at one point, like, okay, maybe I should go to another school because I'm already getting plenty of. If you got an offer from Ohio State, I'm sure you have plenty of offers to play quarterback somewhere else at a solid school. So you got to think, okay, is this really where I want to go? Yes, I can get a great degree. I'm never going to step on the playing field if I'm lucky until my senior year. And even that, you got to beat someone else out. I don't know. I would look at probably going somewhere else. Torrance Gibson, I like him as a player. Good luck trying to get playing time with those guys. And I wouldn't be surprised Cordero Jones probably even transfers as well. And says, hey, JT Barrett, this is your team. You're doing your job. I don't really want to cause controversy. I can go somewhere, step right in, become a starter, and compete for a national championship as well. We can see him transfer. Or even JT Barrett transferring. I doubt he would. I think he's the one that stays and becomes a starter for next season. But you got to think, what is going to happen with this? What if they all three stay? Really, if you're coming in as a freshman, you are screwed. You really are. You can redshirt. You're going to have to try to break your ankle or something as well and get a medical redshirt so you can stay an extra year. By the time you're playing on a football field, you have a master's degree at Ohio State. I don't know. I look at something different. But that's me. Maybe if I look at it as if me going to TCU and I was a quarterback and I say, hey, they got Foster Sawyer,